All right, this is the Illusion reporting from Malibu, California, somewhere on spaceship Earth. I had someone asking me about counterculture and when counterculture becomes mainstream. And, the example he was giving me was, how, once upon a time in the early 70s, punk rock was, breakout, man. If you had a mohawk that was fluorescent pink, you were probably the first dude on your street or chick in your town with it. Just like, Sid Vicious was the first guy to shove a safety pin in his face, and now safety pins shoved in your face are pretty standard. So counterculture. What happens to counterculture when it becomes mainstream? I think it's like anything else. I mean, the hippies said they were counterculture to the yuppies, man, The counterculture by definition is some sort of subsect that's in direct opposition to the main body of what's going on. And eventually, if you have a good counterculture, it's going to become popularized, man. But as with anything else, pigeonholing yourself is the problem with any sort of counterculture. Within inside of me is a hippie, a skateboarder, a surfer, a punk rocker, a cowboy, a square, a nerd, a politician, the list goes on and on. So if I were to just slap a mohawk on my head and put on a TSOL shirt or something, and just that be my whole drive, I would really be kind of a slave to that one frequency, man. And I think the true concept of the counterculture is not beholding to any culture, man. To be a hippie, do you actually have to have a tie-dye and dreadlocks? To be a cowboy, do you actually have to have a cowboy hat? So it's that concept of thinking that you need to wear a uniform and put a sticker on your car to define who you are, which again is the ego trying to separate you from the whole. I'm one of those who firmly believes, check it all out, man. Everything's got a valid point to it, even the squares. Even the robots have a valid reaction to life, man. And so I think that anytime anyone claims their reality is better than someone else's reality because their reality is secret and unique and not part of a bigger reality, is kind of missing the point of why their little secret reality was probably cool, because behind most counterculture ideas is the concept of unity within that little counterculture. So if you start to exclude any sort of incoming ideas, you sort of miss the point. It's like they say, most people couldn't handle true anarchy, because true anarchy is not burning down buildings and smashing things up and just pooping where you want, man. True anarchy is accepting the sovereign nature of your being, your internal essence, your beam of light, and living freely. And by living freely, you don't infringe on anybody else's trip, man. You don't steal, you don't rob, you don't smash. You actually obey all the rules. It's just that the rules come from source energy. So when people talk about anarchy, I think they truly don't know what they're talking about, because anarchy and destruction are two different concepts. But, there's a lot of brainwashing going out there by the system. In fact, it is the system that promotes the counterculture to offset them. So it's like what the counterculture is fighting is being promoted by the system itself. The counterculture needs you to think that you're breaking away from the system by wearing weird t-shirts or changing your hairstyle or putting a certain sticker on your car that no one has, or going to some club and listening to some band that only 100 people listen to and they've been around for 20 years. To me, that's not what counterculture is. Counterculture to me is all about infiltrating the system, man. I can basically walk into any building here in Los Angeles, from the police station to a corporate headquarters to a bong shop, and pull it off, because A, I don't have a judgment about what they're doing, but B, inside my mind is the counterculture. And yeah, I got a button-down shirt on, and that's generally how I roll from the skate park to the hiking trail, man. Because my whole trip is, don't stick a label on me, man. The minute I've stuck myself in any sort of group collective, I'm denying another group's collective. For example, I'll give you something that always trips me out, is people who are into music, but they're only into one kind of music. Like punk rockers only seem to be into punk rock, and Deadheads are only into the Grateful Dead, and Fish fans only listen to Fish, and reggae people only listen to reggae. But all the great artists from every one of those genres listen to all other music. I mean, I think one of the classic interviews with Jerry Garcia, they were asking him what he was listening to, and he's like, Jane's Addiction, man. Well, your average Deadhead only listens to Jerry Garcia, but if you're truly listening to Jerry Garcia was telling you to go explore all the musical frequencies out there and not to pigeonhole yourself. And I think that, all the fucking gnarly punkers would tell you the same thing, man. You gotta listen to all the music to know what sucks, man. If you only check out your aspect in life, how do you know what doesn't work? I mean, you gotta go sample food to know what kind of food you like, man. If you just ate SpaghettiOs out of a can every day for your whole life, how would you know that, escargot's bitchin', or London broil's rad, or also, like, you gotta sample all the cookies in the cookie aisle to figure out that Oreo cookies are the best, man. It doesn't matter how toxic they are. They've got something magic in there. So I hope that addresses what was being asked of me about counterculture. Don't pigeonhole yourself, man. Don't allow the society to label you. It's all an inside job, man. I'm listening to David Bowie on Pandora's Box, but Minor Threat's screaming in my head. Bob Marley's going to drive my car to work, man. And at some point, the cowboy's going to come out and go, giddy up. Peace. The illusion out.